talk more about it. Let's get to our guest. Lance Zierlein is an NFL Network Draft Analyst. Lance, it's great to have you. Before we can get into the draft, though, we got to get into this latest from the Packers president, Mark Murphy. Say it is the Jets, Lance. Do you think that Rodgers would make them a Super Bowl contender?
Oh, that's a tough call in the AFC. I mean, AFC is so difficult, so many good quarterbacks. I think they immediately leapfrog the Dolphins in terms of the next team up in the AFC East. I think they are a legitimate contender because I have Breece Hall back. They will, Garrett Wilson a second year. They've got draft picks. Well, we'll see how many they have left.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I do think when you look at what they have already on paper and on the depth chart, and then you add a quarterback who I think can still play at a very high level, yeah, I think they – I can't take it – Maggie, I can't go that high with it. But what I would say is, do you think they can compete to get into the AFC Championship game? Yes, I do think they can compete. Would they be my favorite, 1, 2, or 3? No. They're not 1, 2, or 3, but I think they are now in the conversation for sure. Absolutely.
Lance, if you were GM of the Jets, would you have gone this path with Aaron Rodgers? It looks like they're trying to pursue him. Or would you have maybe gone all in on Lamar Jackson?
Well, so the Lamar Jackson thing will – okay, so I'd have to see what the compensation package looks like. I would assume you're going to have to give up more draft picks with Lamar Jackson than for Aaron Rodgers, based on the amount of time Aaron likely has left. You can't assume he's going to play any more than 2 years just because it's drama every offseason now with him. With Lamar Jackson, it comes with the caveat of not only are you going to have to, give up at least the 2 first-round picks, of course, if you had the tag, if based on what's out there right now, but you'll have to give up 2 first-round picks, and $250 million guaranteed is likely what Lamar's side is going to be asking for. So it's longer. I mean, you're locked in longer for your quarterback, but you're also locked in longer for your quarterback, if you know what I mean, and with guaranteed money. So it's tricky. I think, honestly, if you ask, in my honest opinion, Lamar Jackson is the better option in terms of where Sauce Gardner is in his development. Breece Hall, they had an incredible draft class last year.
Yep.
And you can grow all these guys together. Aaron Rodgers, it's kind of like Matt Stafford, right? It's a staggered – it's kind of although the Rams were ready to win right then, and they basically just mortgaged their entire future, and now the credit card spending is catching up with them. With Aaron Rodgers, it's going to be similar. 2, maybe 3 years with Aaron Rodgers, and then you're going to have to figure out quarterback again. So this is one of these we're all-in moves. Lamar Jackson is also an all-in move, but it's one that conceivably has a longer runway for you.
Lance, now Mark Murphy in this interview, again, said we want this resolved by the start of free agency, but also was asked about Jordan Love and said, quote, "We have a lot of confidence in him. We drafted and developed him. A lot of credit goes to our coaches and to Jordan. We do think that he is ready." Take us back to that draft in 2020 when the Packers did trade up to get Jordan Love. You're a draft expert. What did they love about Jordan Love at that time, and what do you see from him now?
Well, they probably loved the 2019 tape because that was a good tape the year before. He had lost, I guess it was 2 wide receivers, a tight end, a running back, an offensive coordinator, I think a head coach. There were so many changes that Jordan Love faced the next year. And I just think that I think in part the changes really hurt him. I think maybe he read his own press clippings too much. But he was very talented. I watched him in the summer on tape, and I thought he had legitimate first-round talent on tape from 19. And so he's a guy who can throw on the move. He has some mobility. He has good arm strength. I thought he saw the field fairly well in 19. 20, not so much. It was like a different guy, but some of that could be explained by different receivers, different offense, things like that. So what you have is a guy with good size. He has good strength. I think there were some maturity issues coming out, and that's a matter of, when does it click for you? And I think being in Green Bay, being behind Aaron Rodgers, I think certainly helped him. I don't think Aaron treated him necessarily the same way Brett Favre treated Aaron Rodgers. And so I like the head coach over there with Green Bay from an offensive standpoint. I think LaFleur, I think it's a good fit for Jordan Love. So I think what they see in Jordan Love right now is a guy who has the physical talent, a guy who last year in limited time frames started to show some of what they saw 3 years ago on tape. And now, they're going to say whatever they have to, but the reality is Jordan Love right now he is auditioning for the future quarterback job, because before you know it, they're going to have a decision now on year 5 with him. They'll pick up the 5th-year option, but they also have to decide, Green Bay that is, what is his extension going to look like? Because he hasn't played a whole lot of football, frankly, they may get a little bit of a discount, obviously, on a player who could be their quarterback of the future. So it could work out for the Packers. If it doesn't this year, my guess is they'll be sniffing around on the quarterback market next year.
All right, we're talking to Lance Zierlein, NFL.com draft analyst. Now, Jordan Love was in the 20s. You, in your most recent mock draft on NFL.com, have 4 quarterbacks going in the top 8.
Yeah.
Is that because this is such is this such an excellent quarterback class, or is that because of demand?
Yeah, it's not, and that's what's kind of crazy about this. Is it's just, and this is credit to Dane Brugler who looked this up. There's been no draft where there were 4 quarterbacks in the top 10, none. And there's been, you had one almost where Justin Fields was the 4th quarterback, but he went 11th to the Chicago Bears 2 years ago. But this isn't – I don't think all these quarterbacks come with the same – Justin Fields had a lot more polish as the 3rd quarterback coming off the board. You look at the 4th quarterback now off the board, probably I think it's going to be Will Levis, and not nearly as much polish, even though he's played a lot of football. I think it's the demand, the supply and demand situation. Some quarterbacks who have really fallen off lately, or quarterbacks who are out of the league now. All of a sudden, there are more teams looking for quarterbacks. The quarterback movement that everyone thought might happen, it's not really manifesting itself in terms of the teams that we thought might draft quarterbacks in the top 10. And so now, I think the Texans really need to look quarterback. I know they're going to throw all the signals out there that they're going to draft Jimmy, or they're going to add Jimmy Garoppolo, and they'll just wait. I think they're doing that to keep the price tag down on the Bears, to make sure they want to send that message so no one tries to jump over Houston at number 2. It's a lot of positioning and leverage going on right now with the smoke that's being put out there from multiple teams. I also, so I think 2 needs to draft one. I think the Colts have to at number 4. I think that, Carolina and number 7, Las Vegas, could be in a race to get ahead of the other one, or to get ahead of the Colts. So I think 3 at Arizona is a trade-in spot. I think number 5 with Seattle is a trade-in spot. And I think 6 with Detroit is a trade-in spot. So there could be somebody coming from outside of the top 10, like Washington, who could take a look at jumping in. So I just happen to think that there will be, because of the workout that Anthony Richardson has, the rare physical capabilities, the C.J. Stroud's great tape against Georgia in his last game in college football, I just think some teams are going to be aggressive, come up and draft quarterbacks. But in my estimation, it's going to be a little dangerous.
Lance Zierlein is our guest, NFL draft analyst for NFL.com, NFL Network. Lance, we love comps, right or wrong. We love them. So can we get comps for the top 4 quarterbacks in your opinion?
Oh, I hate comps.
Right, you're the comp of record, Lance.
I know you love
comps. Everyone gets so mad at them.
By the way, if you're not done with writing those comps, that's fine. But if you could give us an idea of who your comps will be,
you're the comp king.
Yeah, I think So there's not really a good one for Bryce Young. I mean, I do think the one I heard that does make some sense is Drew Brees. I actually do think there is some similarities in the way that they play. But there's just, I think Drew Brees. I think Bryce Young is a very unique player when it comes to comp. My first comp I look at physical stature. So right off the bat, everybody's out basically for Bryce Young. He has some Russell Wilson qualities. He's not Kyler Murray. I think he has some Drew Brees qualities from the pocket. So I think a combination of outside of the pocket, a little bit Russell Wilson, but inside the pocket, Drew Brees. Number 2, C.J. Stroud for me is Jared Goff. I see a lot of the same qualities coming out. Both of them are accurate. Both of them can throw their wide receivers open. Similar body types and similar arms coming out. Anthony Richardson is an easy comp with Cam. I think both of them have where they spray the ball high, which is a similar problem in terms of their inaccuracies are typically high. Both are unbelievably big, unbelievably athletic, and can really hurt you with their legs. So, and I only think there's 3 comps in that neighborhood. It's really Josh Allen, Cam Newton, and now Anthony Richardson. There was some elements of I just don't think he's a good enough thrower to be compared to Ben Roethlisberger. You could have young Ben. People forget that young Ben can move a little bit. And then I think with Will Levis, honestly, I see some Jay Cutler type stuff, and that's not meant as a slam at all. People take it that way, but it's really not. He's got some freaky arm talent at times. He can make some really impressive throws, but Jay had more poise. And the thing that bothers me about Levis is he's not the most poised quarterback out there. So there are times I see Andy Dalton, who you're very familiar with, because Andy was a pretty good passer coming out of TCU as well. So I think Dalton is not a bad comp for where Will Levis can be, but I don't see Will Levis's comp being a really high-end player.
So, Lance, you have Anthony Richardson, the Florida quarterback, number 4 to the Colts in your latest mock. When will Anthony Richardson be ready to start in the NFL?
Well, I mean, you're at least you need a full redshirt year. I don't think he's ready to start next year at all. I mean, you could put him in there with some very limited stuff. But you got to remember that Shane Steichen, what he did with Jalen Hurts. Now, Jalen Hurts, I did a podcast in Philadelphia, and I couldn't believe how many Philadelphia fans hated Jalen. They just didn't think he could play at all. And this is at the early stages of year 2 of his development. And I actually saw some advancements from when I wrote him up. I was actually kind of excited about him. I was very positive about Jalen, and he ended up getting better in year 2. And of course, this was a great year in year 3. To me, Shane Steichen's ability to meld the offense around the player is a huge advantage for Richardson going to the Colts if he were to do that. You take his natural talent, and Steichen, I think, has proven that he can limit your inefficiencies and really, I think, shine a light on what your strengths are. So, but even with that said, he's got to learn to read defenses. He's got to learn to make better decisions. He just needs to see and experience more football. He hasn't played enough. And so I think it's a delicate balance, Andrew, between, letting him take the mental reps he needs to and the practice reps, and then getting him some much needed game reps. And if he's in the game, then probably the Colts are in some, their season's probably over by the time that Anthony Richardson is a full-time starter if it's his rookie season. But then again, you got to find, okay, who's your next bridge quarterback going to be? Because if you're the Colts, you have to have a bridge quarterback. I just don't know if you can go in with Anthony Richardson as your guy in year 1.
Okay, last question, Lance. We're talking to Lance Zierlein, NFL.com. My favorite thing in the fall is watching your sneaky videos at home when your wife is screaming at the television because of the Texas Longhorns. She is the most avid college football fan I know.
Yeah.
And she's scary. Maggie, she's scary. Trust me. Lance, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
So did you feel internal pressure at home to put Bijan Robinson in the top 10? You have him at 18 here. But it does
I thought you were going to ask about the Arch Manning, Quinn Ewers quarterback battle.
Yeah. Well,
spring football.
That's a little too emotional.
So let me tell you. So last year I got locked out of the house because I was supposedly the jinx whenever Texas lost their big lead against I'm saying the year before this last one. This year was an easy Longhorn route. So I came back home. I was at a radio event. I came back home, and there was no problem. I just happen to like Bijan that much. I just think Bijan is a really, really special talent, and there was no pressure. I did make sure that I told her how high I have Bijan Robinson. I mean, if I'm going to get points for it, I'm going to make sure she knows. I'm not going to keep it a secret. And then because, I haven't exactly been high on Longhorns in the past, and, well, I've been proven right from a draft standpoint.
Hey, let's not cause trouble at home, Lance.
Yeah, I know. Don't push your luck.
Bijan is legit, and that one helps me. Yes, that helps me.
All right, Lance, appreciate the time. It's going to be a busy spring. I know no one works harder in this business, and I cannot wait to read your entire list of comps and hold you to everyone for the next 12 years of our friendship.
Yeah, I've cut them way down, trust me.
Okay.
Because I know that you have been one of my number one antagonists when it comes to my player comps.
I've already tweeted your comps, so thank you, Lance. Appreciate that.
Good.
Thanks, Lance. Talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. Lance Zierlein's the best.